Hello everyone, I'm Sailesh. In this video, we'll be talking about functions, what a function is, why do we need it, and so on. Function basically is a relation from a set of possible inputs to a set of possible outputs, which usually takes in data as input, processes it, and gives result as output. A function doesn't necessarily have to return anything and can accomplish a specific task as well. For example, here y equals to 2x or fx equals to 2x is a mathematical relation between two variables x and y, where y is a function of x, where when x is taken as input, y comes out twice as output. Here the function is clearly defined through a relation and can be called like this to give us a required output. So basically anything that takes input and gives us an output can be considered a function. In programming, a function is a block of code represented by an identifier, that is, a function name, declared, defined, and caters the task when called. Why do we need functions? 1. For abstraction. Abstraction is hiding away details, packaging the code block or any process relations. This allows the programmer to freely design and compose programs without the discomfort of actually having to work some things out. For example, here, sqrt(x) is a function that takes in input x and gives the value of square root of x as output. If it's done without a function, the programmer has to figure out how the algorithm for something like this should be and work it out. And for someone who hasn't done this previously, is obviously a headache. It takes time, takes effort, and takes attention, all of which could have been more important to designing something else. Hence, wrapping the code block in the function sqrt(x) allows for better productivity in this scenario. Another great advantage is that we can reuse the code block multiple times without actually writing the same code, and just by calling the already defined function, providing it required input data. If we break a bigger process into smaller chunks, they are called modules. And having multiple people work on these separate modules is modular programming. For example, here the simple calculator program can be broken down and distributed to multiple programmers is log function to 1, root function to 1, the power function to 1, and so on. The person designing the power function does not need to know how the root function works, but can call and use the function without restriction to their know-how. The tasks can be divided and achieved with ease. And these are why functions make it easier to understand, design, maintain the program. All that we've talked about generally applies to any programming language or subject. Now let's get a bit into functions in C language. Types of functions in C. There are two types of functions in C: standard library functions and user defined functions. Standard library functions are built in functions which are defined in header files, and user defined functions are, as the name suggests, created by the user as per their need. We are already familiar with some library functions such as scanf, printf, defined in standard input-output header file stdio.h. To use these predefined functions, we just need to include the respective header file and call the function where required. In next video, we'll work with these and learn to make user-defined functions and so on. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave reviews and share to help the channel grow. Thank you. See you in the next video.